The sky over Ouagadougou was just turning orange. It was early morning, cool air, birds singing, not a soul on the street. But inside the presidential garden, where flowers swayed quietly in the breeze, a man stood with a gun, aimed at the back of President Ibrahim Traoré's head. The president didn't know. He was kneeling on the grass alone, praying to start his day. No guards, no cameras, just him and the morning peace. But peace was not what the man behind him came for. He came to end the revolution in one silent shot. He had waited all night hidden in the garden wearing the uniform of a palace gardener. But he was no gardener. His name was Daniel Kane, and he wasn't from Burkina Faso. He was an American, but not just any American. A trained spy, a field agent working under false identity. And he wasn't working alone. He had been sent by President Alassane Ouattara of Côte d'Ivoire, with full support from foreign powers including certain interests in Washington and Paris. This is how we stop the spread of his revolution, they told him. One clean shot and it's over. But things didn't go as planned because just as Daniel pulled the safety off his silenced pistol, President Traoré whispered something without turning around. "You traveled a long way to die here, didn't you?" Daniel froze. How did he know? Before he could think, the grass around him moved. And then in one lightning-fast moment, Traoré spun around, kicked the gun from Daniel's hand, and tackled him to the ground. Daniel was trained for hand-to-hand combat. But what he didn't expect was Traoré had trained in Russia, Cuba, and the Sahel. His style was raw, fast, unpredictable, and worse. Traoré didn't flinch, not even once. Within seconds, the assassin was pinned down, both arms locked behind his back. That's when the guards finally rushed in. Traoré looked at them calmly and said, "No one shoots. He's not just a hitman. He's a message and I want to hear it straight from his mouth." Daniel was dragged into a private bunker below the palace. The room was dark, made of stone, with a single chair in the middle. They sat him down, handcuffed and sweating. Traoré entered the room alone. No bodyguards, no guns, just him holding a small cup of tea. He placed it on the table. "Let's talk," he said. "Where are you from?" Daniel looked up, eyes cold. "You already know." "Say it anyway," Traoré replied. "Say it on record." Daniel hesitated, then smiled. "I'm from Langley. I work for the agency and yes, I was sent here, directed us from Washington, but the plan came from Abidjan. Ouattara signed off on it himself." The room fell silent. Traoré sat back. "Why would Côte d'Ivoire want me dead?" Daniel smirked. "You're turning the region upside down, throwing out the French, welcoming the Russians. You became too powerful, and worse, too popular. You were never supposed to last this long." Then came the twist. Daniel leaned in and said, "You think I'm the only one? Look around you, Traoré. You're surrounded by smiles, but half of them were bought. Someone inside your palace gave me the gate code, and guess what? They're meeting tonight to plan the second attempt." Traoré stood up slowly. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned. "Then I guess I'll have to attend that meeting myself." Daniel laughed. "They'll know it's a trap." Traoré smiled. "So will I." That night the palace looked peaceful. The guards stood at their posts. Lights were on, doors closed, curtains drawn. Everything seemed normal. But inside their war had already begun, because President Traoré was no longer in his room. He had changed into a soldier's uniform, put on a cap and covered his face with a scarf. Only 3 people in the palace knew where he was. He wasn't running. He was going undercover. Earlier that evening, after the captured spy, Daniel revealed the truth that someone from inside the palace had given him the gate code. Traoré made a quiet decision. "Let them think I'm asleep. Let them think I'm afraid. I'll walk into their meeting and look my enemy in the eye." At exactly 11:37 p.m., inside a small storage room beneath the kitchen, 7 men gathered. Some were soldiers. One was a government aide, and one wore a white coat, a palace doctor. They spoke in low voices. One of them took out a tablet and read a short message. "Plan Ivory Flame, Phase 2. The backup team is ready. The youngest one, a soldier named Lieutenant Bo, asked nervously, "What if Traore finds out?" The man in the white coat replied, "He won't. He's probably dead by now. The Americans said the poison would take time." Everyone nodded. They didn't know. Traore was already standing behind the wall listening. He had hidden a small microphone earlier in the room, but now he wanted faces. He pushed the door open slowly, walked in and stood at the back. Quiet. They didn't recognize him in the soldier's uniform. Not until he spoke. "You talk like men," Traore said, "but plot like rats." They all froze. One of them reached for his gun, but Traore already had his out. "Move and I'll end this meeting myself." The doctor stuttered. How did you?" "You poisoned my tea," Traore said. "But I never drank it. You sent a man from America, but he talked. And now you plan to light Ivory Flame, then let me be the first to pour water on it." Suddenly a loud knock echoed down the hallway. The door swung open. Red Lions, Traore's elite, secret force flooded in. No one escaped. The traitors were dragged out one by one, shocked, silent, broken. But as the last man was taken away, the doctor whispered something. "You don't understand what Ouattara's done. You stopped the spy, but you missed the snake." Traore leaned closer. "Who?" The doctor smiled weakly. "There's another one higher than me, close to you, and he is already moving." Traore stepped back, face calm but heart racing. "Then we stop him before he strikes. Because whoever this snake was, he wasn't just a traitor. He was someone Traore trusted, someone who might be standing next to him even now." The next morning, the sky over Ouagadougou was gray. It wasn't raining, but it felt like a storm was coming. President Ibrahim Traoré sat at his desk in silence. In front of him were 7 photos, each one a man arrested the night before. Soldiers, staff, even a palace doctor, all traitors, but there was still one missing. "The real leader," Traoré said to his intelligence chief, "is still free. Someone close to me, someone I trust." The intelligence chief nodded. "A snake in your shadow." Just then, a message arrived. It came from the U.S. Embassy through official diplomatic channels. It said, "Washington regrets the misunderstanding. The agent acted without authorization. We request a private meeting to avoid further conflict." Traoré stared at the screen. "They want to clean it quietly," he said. No apology, just silence. But something about the message felt off. The font was different. The wording too cold. He turned to his top cyber officer. "Is it real?" The officer looked nervous. "The channel is real, but the location the message was sent from is not America." "Then where?" Traoré asked. The officer hesitated. "A private network inside Côte d'Ivoire." Traoré stood up. "So it begins. The lies. The cover-up. They want to erase everything, starting with me, but I won't wait to be erased." Meanwhile, in another room of the palace, someone else was on the move. A man in a general's uniform. He walked with power, smiled at every guard. No one stopped him because he was one of the highest-ranking officers in the country. His name, General Yakuba Diarra. He had served under 3 presidents. He trained half the soldiers in the capital, and Traoré once called him a pillar of our defense. But what Traoré didn't know was that General Diarra was working with Ouattara. At exactly 10:15 a.m., Diarra entered a locked room near the communications center. He took out a satellite device hidden inside a medical box. Then he sent a short-coded message to Abidjan. "All targets exposed. Only Traoré left, awaiting green light." He pressed send, but something was wrong. The device made a strange beep. A red light blinked, and then a voice came through the speaker. "You're sending too late, General. He already knows." Diarra's face went pale. He turned around, and there was President Traoré standing at the door. "We found your signal days ago," Traoré said. "We watched your messages. We listened to your fake calls. Even the Americans underestimated how deep you'd go. Traore didn't speak. He reached for his sidearm, but before he could touch it, a red lion guard smashed through the window and pinned him to the wall. Traore stepped forward, calm as ever. You trained thousands of soldiers but forgot loyalty can't be taught. How much did they pay you to betray this land? General Traore gave one final smirk. It wasn't money, it was fear. They told me if I didn't help, Burkina Faso would burn. Traore looked him dead in the eyes. Then let them come with fire, we'll answer with thunder. As Traore was dragged away, Traore turned to his officers. Prepare the airbase, we're going. To the border. It's time we visit Côte d'Ivoire. The sun was high over the Sahel when President Ibrahim Traoré stepped into a small black SUV headed south. No flags, no official convoy, just 4 trusted red lions in plain clothes and a mission. Their destination, the Burkina Faso-Côte d'Ivoire border, but not for war, for a warning. Traoré had received confirmation. The orders to eliminate him came directly from inside Côte d'Ivoire's military command. With quiet backing from foreign hands, so he decided to do something no one expected. He went to them. 3 hours later, the SUV pulled into an abandoned customs station near the border. There, waiting with 2 armored vehicles, was General Kouassi, a high-ranking officer under President Alassane Ouattara. He didn't smile when he saw Traoré step out of the car. "This is not your land, President," General Kouassi said coldly. "You come here without notice. That could be considered a threat." Traoré threw a brown folder on the table between them. Inside, satellite images of an Ivorian training camp, intercepted audio from spy Daniel Kane, flight records of mercenaries flown in from Senegal. General Kouassi flipped through the documents, then laughed. "You have no idea what's really happening, do you?" Traoré narrowed his eyes. "Then explain it to me." The general leaned closer. "Ouattara isn't the only one involved. This isn't just about you, it's about the new map being drawn in West Africa. Your revolution, removing the French, rejecting ECOWAS, calling out the West. It's scared too many people. They don't want to kill you just because you're dangerous. They want to kill you because you're inspiring others." Traoré stood still. "So this is about fear?" "No," Kouassi said. "It's about control." Then came the twist. The general leaned in and said, "Do you know where Daniel Kane is now?" Traoré nodded. "In a bunker. Being interrogated." Kouassi shook his head. "No, he escaped last night with help from inside your own government. Back in Ouagadougou, alarms were already going off. Daniel Kane, the captured American spy, had broken out. Guards found 2 men drugged in the basement. The surveillance cameras had been cut for exactly 6 minutes. No one saw who let him out. But they found something else. A note left in Traoré's personal war room. It said, "You can stop the foot soldiers, but the generals are already bought." At the border, Traoré's phone buzzed. He picked it up. The voice of his intelligence chief came through shaky. "Sir, Kane is gone and someone from inside helped him escape." Traoré didn't flinch. He just looked at General Kouassi and said, "Then I'll stop playing chess. From now on, we fight face to face." He turned around and walked back to the SUV. But before stepping in, he said one more thing. "Tell Ouattara, I'm not afraid of shadows. I'm the storm that walks in daylight." And with that, he crossed back into Burkina Faso. But deep inside, he knew the real battle was just beginning because someone close to him, maybe even someone he saw every day, was working for the other side. 2 days had passed since President Ibrahim Traoré returned from the border. The palace was on high alert. Guards rotated every 2 hours. All entrances were scanned. No one was trusted, not even longtime staff. But the most troubling thing, Daniel Kane, the American spy, had disappeared without a trace. No footprints, no satellite pings, no border crossings. That could only mean one thing. "He's still in the country," Traoré told his intelligence team, "and someone is hiding him." Traoré didn't call an emergency meeting. He didn't shout. He didn't trust anyone. Instead, he launched Operation Traoré, A secret sweep of his own government run by a hand-picked team of red lions loyal only to him. For 3 nights, they watched ministers. They tapped phones. They listened in on whispered conversations. And finally, one man kept coming up, Minister of Defense Colonel Hamidou Sangaré, a hero during the Sahel battles promoted by Traoré himself, respected, calm, always quiet, too quiet. On the 4th night, a Red Lion agent followed Sangaré's car after midnight. It didn't go to his home. It didn't go to the Defense HQ. It went to an abandoned colonial mansion on the edge of the city. The lights were off, but through a cracked window, the agent saw something chilling. Daniel Kane, alive, unshaven, still wearing his wrist tracker, drinking tea with Sangaré. The spy had never left. He had been protected by one of the highest men in the country. Traoré received the intel at 2:04 a.m. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. He simply said, "We move at 3, night quiet. No shots unless I give the order." At 2:57 a.m., 3 unmarked vehicles surrounded the old mansion. Traoré himself led the entry team. They burst through the back door, flashlights off, steps silent. Inside the living room, Kane was just picking up his phone when the lights came on. He froze. Across the room, President Traoré stood with a pistol aimed straight at his head. "Didn't think I'd find you this fast, did you?" Traoré said. Kane didn't answer. He looked towards Sangaré, who was already handcuffed by a red lion. The general, who didn't beg. He just looked at Traoré and whispered, "They promised peace." Traoré stepped closer. "Peace doesn't come from betrayal. You gave our coordinates, you let them in. You almost sold this country for a handshake." Kane finally spoke. "You're smart, Traoré, but this won't end with me. There are others outside and inside. You think you're in control, but you're just slowing down what's already coming." Traoré leaned in close. "Then I'll slow it down with fire and bury it before it touches our soil." As Kane and Sangaré were taken away, one final item was found on the table, a printed map showing military bases in Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, and Ghana. At the top was a logo, a private American security company. At the bottom, Phase 3, Regional Stabilization. Traoré stared at the map and said, "This was never just about me. This is about the whole region. They want to redraw Africa." He turned to his officers. "Call a meeting with Mali and Niger tonight." Because Traoré now understood something terrifying. The plot wasn't finished. It was just the first test. The real war was about to begin. The air was thick in Ouagadougou. Something was changing, not just in the palace, but across all of West Africa. Inside a heavily guarded war room, President Ibrahim Traoré stood at the center of a long table. On his left, an officer from Mali. On his right, a commander from Niger. For the first time in years, the 3 countries were united as one force. "We face the same enemy," Traoré said. "They come with papers, money, and sweet words, but behind those words are weapons, spies, and chains." He tapped on the table. A large screen lit up showing a secret map seized from Daniel Kane. The map had red dots across Africa. Some inside army bases, others near gold mines, telecom towers, and media stations. "This is not just about Burkina Faso," Traoré said. "This is about a foreign plan to control the entire region, and it ends now." That same night, Traoré ordered Operation Dignity, a secret joint operation between Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. The mission: seize all foreign-controlled spy stations, freeze hidden bank accounts, expose the private military networks working in West Africa. But there was one final task: Daniel Kane. He was being held in a maximum security cell beneath the palace. This time he wasn't smug, he wasn't smiling, he was quiet. As Traoré entered the room, Kane stood up. "Back again?" he asked. "For the last time," Traoré replied. Kane looked tired. "You think you've won?" Traoré stepped forward. "I didn't come here to win. I came to finish what you started." He held out a file and threw it on the table. Inside were photos, recordings, and documents proving Kane's ties to multiple failed coups across Africa, not just in Burkina Faso. Liberia, Guinea, Chad. Kane looked down, then back up. This was never personal. It is now, Traore replied. You came into my country. You tried to end my life. You bought my friends. You whispered in the ears of traitors, and still here I stand because I am not your puppet, and Burkina Faso will never bow. Just then, a TV inside the room lit up. Across Africa, news stations were broadcasting live. The world was watching. Traore looked into the camera and spoke directly to every African watching this. We are done being told what to do. Done being ruled from afar. Done being played like pieces on someone else's board. Today we end the silence. We expose every hand behind our suffering, and we take back what is ours, our land, our voice, our future. As his words echoed across the continent, cheers erupted in villages and cities. People waved flags, fighters saluted. Even elders in the countryside cried. But in a quiet base far away, someone else was watching too. A foreign official in a dark suit picked up a phone and said, "He made it through. Cancel the operation. We'll find another way." Back in the cell, Traore turned to Kane and said, "You came to break a country, but you made it stronger. Now go tell them we're awake, and we are not afraid anymore."